Hi, Anna. It's great to have you on Freeflow Coffee Time Chats. I'm really excited about this because you're expanding in new directions, which we'll come to shortly. So whenever I've run into you in the past locally, and you are a local person to me in London, you're literally always on the go. So I see out your between work, sorting out the kids' social lives, entertaining, tending to your own continued personal development. You're always on the go. But tell me, for you, what makes you happy? When are you at your happiest?
Thanks, Claire. Thanks for inviting me to this session. I've been thinking about this quite a lot, actually. Like, when am I at my happiest? And do you know what? There are obviously several moments, but it's in terms of logistically and where I am at. It's being at the football, so watching the football. So whether that be my childhood team Barnet FC or going to watch the women's Arsenal team, I love it. And my daughter, who is 7, like, is not a massive football fan, but I do take her along occasionally. And one of these occasions, fairly recently, she kind of like really lost it, as in, I hate football, why are you taking me? And I actually said to her, because I love football. And then she goes, why? And that really got me thinking, why do I enjoy being in this, literally in this arena, in this space? And I think it's because it's a space where you are allowed to be loud, to shout, to scream, to give your opinions, to sing, to be with other people while they are doing that. And it's not just about the entertainment that's happening on the field of play. It's actually about you joining in a community and being able to express yourselves and being able to vocalize and being able to raise your voice and shout and being allowed to do that. So that's one of the moments that I'm absolutely at my happiest. And I think if I didn't have that love of going to watch live football, I would be a very stressed and put upon person.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I feel that way about a lot of sport. I love rugby, which is also just as random. But I think it really is that permission to just let go and be in your body. It's physical, isn't it? And it's all being that part of solidarity or part of the community that is just, it's power of the people as well when you're out there. Yeah, fantastic. So you're juggling a lot right now. For you, what would you say the key is to staying balanced? And how do you switch off, recharge, and handle overload aside from football?
Aside from the football, I must admit, I mean, as you kind of alluded to, that there is a lot going on in my life at the moment. So not only am I running a business, but I have a family, and I'm also studying for a degree in medical herbalism at the moment. I absolutely would not be able to do that without the support of my partner. He's integral. So home life is integral for me to be able to balance everything. And I have such admiration of people, whether it be male or female, who are raising a family by themselves. I think that's incredible, because you do need that kind of outlet in a peer when you're raising a family.
Absolutely.
So that's an absolute foundation for me. I think it's also being able to step back and be objective about things, in terms of like, okay, so if I don't get this essay done, or if I don't do this social media post, what is the worst that's going to happen? Is anyone going to suffer hurt or die? No. Therefore, like, that's your baseline. As long as no one's getting hurt by your inaction or action, great. You're winning at life, kind of thing. So I think it is really kind of taking myself out of like a blinkered moment and trying to step back and look objectively at the situation and see, okay, if I don't do this, what is the worst that's going to happen? And I think that is that kind of perspective keeps me sane.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the moment of feeling, I have so much on, what do I do with that? step back all the time. Thank you for that. Sometimes we have to, we just have work to do, basically. We've got responsibilities to manage, but get that all I need is a damn good sleep feeling. What do you, I laugh because that's how I often feel at 5:30 in the morning. What do you do in that situation, and how do you motivate yourself to push through that?
It's interesting that we're having this conversation at the moment, because I am actually a bit of a low ebb in getting that motivation, and it's really hard sometimes. It's really hard. And what I think what I have to do is set those smaller goals, whether that's a kind of a time goal, as in I will spend an hour on this and then I'll stop and do something else, or okay, I'm going to get this done and then I can do something that I'm actually find enjoyable. So it's about trying to kind of split whatever that task is, or whatever that is, into smaller chunks. But also on top of that, there is kind of like that ability to be able to prioritize, okay, what needs to happen immediately, what's long term, and what's kind of that medium term area. But it is really hard. It's kind of, and sometimes I do have to seek kind of external motivation, as in kind of reaching out to friends and family and said, right, you need to check in on me because otherwise this isn't going to get done. I need you to be the person that kind of like motivates me, because it is really hard. Especially, it's kind of like if you feel like a task is somewhat endless, it is really hard to kind of get that motivation going if you're feeling kind of at a low ebb as well. So it's tough. It's a tough ask sometimes, and I think it is very, for me anyway, it is very cyclical with my own kind of menstrual cycle, and it's being aware of that as well, as in, right, okay, so I'm about to start my period, that's why I feel like crap, and it's okay. It will pass eventually, it will pass, kind of thing. But it's an awareness of where I am in that kind of hormonal cycle as well.
And I think it's also seasonal. I think that feeling of, particularly when you're coming out of 5 months of winter or darkness, and it starts to become lighter, but you're still slightly in that hibernation mode.
Especially when it's cold.
Absolutely. So I think there's still that, or if the temperature's going up and down, that does something with your energy levels automatically. So I think there's so many different factors that are in there, a lot of them natural. And I think what you've just said about breaking things down into smaller, reachable goals, I think that's so important, because we miss all those small goals all the time, don't we? We're always so focused on those larger long-term goals that we're wanting to hit, that we miss the fact that actually, we've achieved quite a lot along the way. So I think thank you for saying that. I think it's a really valid point. Talking in terms of what has actually worked for you in the past week, what would you say have been the highlights this week?
What have been the highlights this week? My highlights this week in terms of,
it can be anything, and it doesn't have to be work. It can be in terms of what just gave you a moment of joy, even, it doesn't matter.
Do you know what actually really lifted me is that we have this house plant that's been in need of some TLC and to be repotted, and a bit fell off, and I've been putting it off for about a week. And I think yesterday, when I was struggling doing some administration work, I was just like, no, just step back and go and deal with that. Go and tend to that plant. And that actually genuinely brought me some real joy. Kind of, that feeling like if you tidy a room that needs tidying, or you've done something and you keep revisiting it, because I keep going revisiting the plant, go, oh yeah, that looks a lot happier and a lot healthier. And that has really kind of given me a lot of joy in the last couple of days, for sure.
Fantastic. I love that. That's brilliant. Definitely back to nature.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
literally
true.
getting my soil on my hands and kind of, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. You're an experienced massage therapist of over 15 years, possibly longer. I don't know, please correct me if I'm wrong. And that includes holistic massage, sports massage, pregnancy and postnatal massage, and other complementary modalities. So why massage? What made you get into it in the first place?
So it's an interesting story, actually. So I was head of operations for a national charity, and really enjoying that work, actually. However, it did mean long hours in the office, which was a space that I'd kind of promised myself as a child and a teenager. I would never be kind of a 9 to 5 in an office space, and there I was coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning and not leaving till 6:30, and I was like, this is not healthy, and just being like stationary for so long. But I didn't really know. I mean, it was a very good job, and as I said, I did enjoy it in the actual kind of content of it. Myself and my sister went away on holiday just to the West Country of the UK. And we had a massage from the same practitioner. Now, I'd never really considered massage outside the realm of kind of being pampered and a bit of luxury and a treat. But this massage was incredible on kind of obviously a physical level, but an emotional level and a spiritual level. And it really like knocked me for six in a way, as in I was like, wow, this is incredible how this person has made me feel. I didn't think too much about it after kind of those initial hours, but then my sister came back to me kind of about a couple of weeks after the holiday. She was in a similar situation work-wise, and she's like, well, why don't we retrain? And so kind of did a complete 180 in both of our careers, actually, and retrained initially. The person that I am, I did a lot of research into which was the best course to do. I really wanted to make sure I was doing the best I possibly could. Enrolled with a private college and did a year's training in holistic massage, but very quickly following kind of starting practicing, realized that wasn't enough for me. I'm a problem solver. I love kind of thinking. I'm quite analytical, and holistic massage just wasn't cutting it. So I went back to college and did a year of sports injury and sports massage, which very much is problem solving. And haven't really looked back since. I mean, since that time, so I've worked for a professional football club for a few seasons, which was amazing. And I've kind of added to my toolkit and found myself very much being kind of drawn to women who, and this is before I've had children or even thought about having children, women who are pregnant, and felt very honored to be allowed into that space by them. And so that's where my path towards what I'm currently doing really started, kind of feeling very, as I said, honored that someone who is pregnant allowed me into their space to touch it. It's such obviously an intimate offering to be able to massage somebody. So kind of that's what set me on that path of massage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting what you were saying about sports massage, because my experience of a really good sports massage therapist is very much that they solved the problem or they knew what it was within 20 minutes, whether it, while it took the NHS something like 3 months to even get an appointment. So I think it's an absolutely wonderful job, absolutely wonderful. Massage is often on top of people's lists of self-treat. I call them self-treat lists because I think they're a wonderful thing to have. What do you think it is about massage treatments that people are so drawn to?
I think it is. So I think there's several aspects to it. I think especially in an urban society, and obviously we both live in London, and it's busy and it's full on, and there's lots of people here. But in terms of meaningful connection, sometimes that is lacking. And meaningful connection with touch can also be lacking. And this isn't touch that is after anything. It's not a touch that, to be given touch that isn't after kind of like if it's a child touching, needs to be fed, or if it's your partner touching you, maybe what they may want from that is, it's a touch that doesn't need to be reciprocated. It can just be received. And I think that is what makes it so appealing to people. It's like, I can just be passive in this space and just receive touch. And I think that is what is so appealing about it. Then obviously layered on top of that, you may have a specific injury or that you want to be worked on and things like that. But I think at the root of it is our human instinct and desire to receive the touch of another human. And I think we don't really do that as much as maybe our ancestors did. I'm talking kind of pre-Victorian, like way back when we probably did touch each other a lot more in a very platonic way. But I think it's that desire, to receive human touch.
Yeah, thank you. I'm guessing you said it yourself, you know, we live in London, it's fast paced, there's a lot going on. People must bring all kinds of tension to their massage sessions. It's probably partly why they've landed there. You've been observing this for over 15 years, but have needs or lifestyles changed over the course of this period?
That's an interesting one, actually. I think I think COVID made a big impact. And I think, going back to what I was saying about human touch, I think that people kind of really realized how much they needed human touch in and around and after that period. So I think people went, okay, so maybe massage is the way to go. So I think that's changed things. But in a slightly more worrying way, what I have actually experienced is the need of young people. So I'm talking kind of like 10, 11, 12 into teenage years, their physiology becoming quite different, and the increased need for not only massage in terms of muscle tensions and what have you, kind of I assume through kind of increased screen use and what have you, but also in terms of stress. I'm just finding more young people are more stressed in their lives, and how massage can help negate that. But it is definitely something that I've picked up on in the last kind of 15 years, about how much more younger people need massage to help them navigate the worlds they find themselves in, which is worrying, actually. It's not a happy thing that I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, it's the lifestyle in itself for young people, whereas, you know, for maybe 30 years ago or something, they'd have been running around during you know, after school and everything. Now they're sitting, whatever they're doing, you know, they're sitting gaming, they're sitting doing whatever they're doing on their social media. The human body's not meant to be sitting, is it?
It's not, but it's not just the physicalness of that. There is that, but you also,
it's to do with the mind.
It's to do with the mind.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like, we're very similar ages. It's just like, God, just those times you've just been bored. But that boredom gives you a freedom, because you start thinking about things and your mind goes into wonderful places. But not being afforded that space, your mind is not being afforded that space to have that kind of like see the wider vista, is so detrimental, I feel, to the young mind. So it is the physical, but it's also that mental, is detrimental to your mental capacity as well, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're emotional. I mean, that's what we're seeing as well with them, because they are so wrapped up in what people think of them. There is so much more challenge out there, I think, for them at the moment. But yeah, it's a very interesting period of time. In your opinion, would you say that we're suffering from, I don't know, is it a deficit of human touch right now? Are we detaching ourselves from other humans?
I can only really go on my personal experience, and I don't think we are. However, I think from what I see through the media and stuff, Perhaps, but I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's just me kind of like echoing what the media wants us to think. I'm not sure. Personally, at a personal level, I don't think we're becoming more detached, but then maybe we are. Maybe, I mean, loneliness seems to be one of has been one of the hot topics on the NHS, is kind of like, we need to tackle this for our health for many years now, and that only seems to be increasing from the other practitioners that I've mentioned, kind of loneliness and isolation. So perhaps it is, perhaps we're finding ourselves, as you kind of touched upon about kind of like younger people, we are finding ourselves more in our own personal bubbles, but at the same time being hyperstimulated. So it's this weird kind of like, it's not just like we're having alone time and decompressing. We're having this alone time, but we are also being hyperstimulated by a screen potentially. It is interesting times, and it's I think it's interesting how I'm sure you're aware of this, the kind of the movement that is kind of gaining momentum now about kind of obviously younger people not being on screens so much, and about obviously the reported dangers of social media and what have you for the younger mind, for the developing mind, because obviously we've approached social media with a developed mind. Social media didn't really come onto our radars until we were in our early to mid-20s, when our brains are developed. However, these younger people, I think that's forgotten. We forget this, that their mind is so malleable, and just kind of the importance of kind of just keeping tabs on what they're ingesting, kind of thing. It is really important.
Yeah, exactly. And them not actually having the time to process, at the same time, don't have time to process it because they're so involved in whatever they're doing. And that's the worrying thing. They are more aware of mental health issues than any other generation preceding. However, don't know what to do with it. How do you go about it? It's just words, isn't it? Yeah. Fascinating. That's another conversation to continue, I think, in itself. Anna, you're also the founder of Moon Women's Health, attracting a wide range of holistic health practitioners, from prenatal massage, yoga and sound bath specialists to all kinds of coaches and therapists. You were already well established as a massage therapist. So what inspired you to take on the additional workload and risk of running an organization and a venue, which is fabulous for anyone out there who doesn't know Moon?
Thank you. It was a series of fortunate events that kind of lined up beautifully. Everything aligned. So my eldest child is 10, and I birthed him in hospital, and that birth was fine. It was okay. But it was that night on the postnatal ward, that one night in the postnatal ward, where it was too hot, it was too loud, it was too noisy. And I kind of promised myself in that moment, if I ever had a second child, I would not have a hospital birth, because this was not how, even though the birth itself was fine, it was like everything around it. I was like, this is bullshit. This is not how we are supposed to be as a species. There was something felt innately wrong about it. I fell pregnant with my daughter, and kind of approached having a home birth. Thankfully, that was everything went okay with that, in terms of we have an amazing NHS home birth team where I am. Everything just aligned beautifully, and so I had my daughter Luna at home. NHS midwife, no pool, just in my living room, no doula or anything like that. It was just, I just didn't want to be in the hospital. And because of our wonderful NHS system, that could happen without any additional cost to me. And there I was at home. And that experience was truly incredible. I was 37 when I had Luna, and I can honestly say I didn't actually know the power of womanhood until that moment. even though I'd had my son Fionn before that, and even though obviously I am a cis woman, it wasn't until that moment that I went, wow, the power of being a woman. And this is because I grew up in the 90s, but it was all like ladette culture. It was all about how many pints can I drink, how many that was like, that's, I didn't want to be a woman because I thought being a woman was a bit shit, actually. So I grew up in that kind of, even though I was a woman, I didn't even kind of like examine that closely as in like, well, I am a woman, but I think women are shit. What? That kind of like, what? But it was in that moment, birthing Luna, I was like, whoa, this is incredible. The point I was like, right, I want to do it again. Like there she was in my arms, like, right, yeah. And I didn't. I've only got 2 kids, but it was so euphoric. It felt, as much as Fionn's birth, that something didn't feel right in that I was in this kind of alien environment. It felt so right with Luna, and that really lit the passion and fire in me, and which quickly actually became an anger as well. If I've experienced this amazing moment, why is it the majority of women that I had encountered up until that point and still encounter, they have either, as I had with Fionn, which was like, it was all right, I got a baby out of it, to kind of post-traumatic stress disorders, physical injuries. Something is not right in the system, and yet we all seem so willing to go along with it. Oh, that's what birth is. Oh yeah, oh god, yeah, but oh, it is horrific. Oh god, it's so, but it's, and we all follow this narrative, and we're just as complicit in a way as the system is, because we're part of it. And it was that anger that I kind of held in me, and that passion. I was like, I need to do something with this. I don't know what I want to do with this. So I set up a home birth support group locally, and again, that was just the simple thing of linking women who had home birth with women who were thinking about it, just having that conversation. I wasn't evangelical about it. I just wanted people to have the opportunity to speak with other women and fathers as well, about their experiences. And I also joined our local Maternity Voices Partnership, which is essentially lay people like myself who've experienced of a maternity service, working with a maternity service, NHS maternity service, to help develop it and improve it. And I found that really rewarding, actually. Then COVID happened, and this is where kind of the series of fortunate events kind of fall into place. COVID happened, a space became available around the corner. It was a space, it's on a road that my mother was born on. That road, we kind of, having immigrated as a family after the Second World War, we stayed very local. So it's a space that my mother was born on. I fortunately had a little bit of money that my grandmother had given me. And in that moment, when I knew this space was available, it was almost kind of like something ethereal in a way. It was just like, this is your path. Set up. I didn't know what it was. Luna was only 18 months at that point. Like, this is your path here. You set up something for women. I was like, okay, well, I was just thinking it through. And obviously with my massage background, and with my being a parent as well, I kind of like, it was very much something around the perinatal experience, but that very, very quickly grew to not just parenthood, motherhood, but at every point in our journeys as women through life, our current system isn't meeting our needs as well as it could. And I reached out to kind of fellow practitioners and said, I don't quite know what this is yet. I know I want it to be something supporting women and their families. Would you like to become part of it? And it's just been growing from there, essentially. So it's Moon Women's Health is a space for women, their families, and cis and trans women, whoever identifies with sisterhood. It's a space where they can find a home, almost. I really kind of set the space up. I wanted it to feel like a home. I want people to step through the door and feel like, and they can leave the crap behind them and just settle into the space. And whether that is through experiencing a treatment or sitting in a circle with other women sharing experiences, whether that's bringing their children and family to events like kind of family yoga. There's something to meet everyone's needs, hopefully within that kind of health and well-being space. So in a nutshell, that's how it kind of set up.
Wonderful. So why? So I'm just thinking about, from what you've said, you've pretty much answered why you felt this was on your path. Did you always see it as being a space dedicated purely to women or people who identify with or as women?
With womanhood.
With womanhood, yeah.
Yeah, I did. I don't know. I just felt it's just not. As a woman myself, I felt I would maybe be a bit disingenuous if I opened it up to men as well. Not that I can't empathize with the journey that men are taking, but obviously as a woman, it just felt this is the right space for me to navigate. This is the right path for me to be on. And that's not to say that men can't be in this space. They can. They absolutely can. But it's usually with the proviso that they are supporting someone else in their family. So whether they're supporting their partner or their child. So it's not exclusively for kind of for women and people who identify as women. But yeah, it just felt right. And as I said, when I first kind of stepped onto this path, Luna was only 18 months and I was still very much in the afterglow of like, wow, after 37 years, this is what it feels like to be a woman, and having not wanted to almost identify as a woman up until that point. It was like, well, no, I'm going to embrace this and really run with this. So yeah.
Fascinating. How would you like Moon to develop? You've said how you can feel it growing, but do you actually have a direction for it?
Yeah, I mean, so in July of last year, I set up a sister company, Moon Community Health, which is a community interest company. Because I found that a lot of the work that I was really enjoying Moon doing was very much community-based work. And that a lot of practitioners were very happy to do that work, but that it was all done on a very voluntary basis. And I think one of the things that I really struggle with in the health and wellbeing world is how much, and the healing world is how much we kind of give of ourselves without financial remuneration. And it's almost like it's not expected. We're not expected to ask, well, I still need to put like food on my family's table. And it just wasn't sustainable for me doing all this community work and for all these wonderful practitioners volunteering their time, and for me volunteering my time and loving the work, but it's not sustainable. And so I set up the sister company with the intent of being able to reach out for local government funding and charity foundation funding. So there's that kind of aspect of Moon that I really want to develop. And we have seven wonderful directors who support Moon Community Health, and I really see that growing as an enterprise over the coming years, and really being able to deliver community projects that the community want. As you mentioned, it's kind of, I feel very embedded within this community in Northwest London. My family's been here for decades. My kids in the local school. It's kind of like it's important to me that this community has what it needs. And because I am so close to the ground, I can kind of hopefully pick up on what the community needs, and therefore hopefully help to deliver projects that can support the community. So there's that aspect which I'm very much pursuing, and is making my heart sing, as it were. But it's also expanding Moon women's health and developing the offering there. We are still in an ongoing process. I want to bring a women's health GP on board, but there's lots of bureaucracy, there's lots of red tape around that, and as a small organisation, that's a very hard path to navigate. So that's still very much in my mind, but has yet to be achieved. But yeah, that's just to expand the offering the Moon Women's Health offers. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a very natural direction as well, because you've got that when you have the community involved with everything that you're doing, who may not be able to afford to go to certain offerings, to certain workshops, but to be expanding and being seen within the community, I think that's a really nice place to be. Yes, coming to my next question, and to your latest venture as well, because you're currently studying hard. You were go on.
I'm in a study hall at the moment.
Like.
Yeah.
Branching out into herbal medicine. What led you down this pathway, and what's next for you in terms of this?
So as we've mentioned, I've been a massage therapist for 15 years now. It's a long time for any profession, really. And as I get older and can foresee being less physically able, I have been for a number of years kind of thinking, okay, what is next for me in terms of my own personal career? What do I want to do? And I've kind of mulled over various avenues and various paths, but nothing has quite felt like it sat well in my body and in my head. I mean, as I kind of alluded to before, I am very analytical. I'm quite academic. I have a degree in war studies, which people are what? As I found myself in this very healing world that I am now inhabited, but academia is very high on my list, and it's like, so it needed to be. I wanted to do something which was using not only that kind of empathetic healing part of me, but also the analytical part of me. And as I said, it kind of took me a couple of years, and I was thinking various things, and I can't remember the specific thing that kind of set me onto the path of like medical herbalism. But I do remember very distinctly sitting at my sister's kitchen table one Christmas, must have been, gosh, 4 years ago, and thinking, medical herbalism, yeah. And having come from a place where my dad's a professional gardener and still, even in his mid-70s, still continues to garden professionally, that world of nature and plant life has always been very present with me. And it just felt so, and still feels so right to remain within the healing world, but to use my brain as well, because there's a hell of a lot to learn. There's a hell of a lot to like have an understanding of. So not only are you having to know all about the kind of the attributes of various plants, but it's also about knowing your patient and knowing your anatomy and physiology and knowing your pathologies. Because essentially, once I qualify, I will be diagnosing, prescribing, and dispensing things that people are going to physically ingest. So it's kind of like, I need to know what I'm doing. I'm currently coming to the end of my third year of a 4-year course, and I'm still loving it despite the highs and lows. But yeah, I am still absolutely loving it, and just that joy in learning is amazing. It's kind of like that thrill of finding out something new. Wow, I never knew that. And kind of then being able to apply that knowledge is very exciting.
And of course you do, because you're in contact with people. You have people that you are diagnosing constantly, so it's not as if you're locked away, stuck behind books. You're learning on the job, aren't you? So
essentially we have to do 500 clinic hours before we can qualify. So we're in the midst of observing a lot of clinics, and although we are not, so we can diagnose. However, we still obviously have supervision, clinical supervision, because we aren't qualified. But yes, we can kind of say, well, we think it's this, and we take it to our supervisors. But yes, it's yeah, it is exciting.
Yeah, brilliant. What would you say for you has been the most significant professional challenge that you've faced in the past, or even at the moment, if it's current, and how did you overcome it?
I don't think I have overcome this, but it's about managing it. What I find really challenging, because people have asked me this before, and what I find really challenging is actually working with so many diverse people, in that people have different needs. I'm not talking about patients and clients. I'm talking about the practitioner, or the wonderful practitioners we have at Moon, but kind of holding space and working with so many diverse people, as I said, in terms of their needs and their personalities that they have. As someone who is naturally an introvert, I have found that really tricky to navigate, and not want just to run away and hide in my cave, kind of thing. So that is what I have found really tricky, and I found it very tricky to be seen as a leader, and how to navigate that kind of moniker that people have put on me. I'm just like, am I? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, am I? And I don't feel comfortable in that. I still don't, and it's still something I'm working with and managing. I'm aware of it, but it's something that I'm working with. That has been and continues to be very tricky for me, on a psychological and emotional level, for sure.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's always really interesting for people to be able to hear to normalize what these professional challenges are, that you know, lots of us are going through very, very standard feelings and stages in our careers as well, you know, and how we go about dealing with it, and to not turn them into taboos, or, you know, oh, I have to hide that, I have to keep that to myself. I think these are very natural. It's a very natural process, especially when you're growing and you're expanding into new areas. These things come up all the time. So thank you for your openness there. How do you anticipate alternative health and wellness, or the sector? How do you anticipate the health and wellness sector to develop over the next 10 years or so?
I would hope that it stops becoming alternative, and it just becomes integrated healthcare.
Yeah.
So you do have the what I would term allopathic healthcare. So your NHS doctors become more open to the idea of referring to people outside of the traditional circle of practitioners who are seen as legitimate healthcare professionals. I think that is happening. We are seeing things like how the rise of social prescribing by GPs and what have you. I do think there's a gradual process there, and I understand the reluctance. I do get it. I do understand that, as in, like, you've got healthcare professionals who have studied for 6+ years, and they're like, who is this upstart kind of thing. And it's almost like feeling that we're encroaching on their ground, and I fully understand that. But I hope that there are going to be more avenues open in terms of communication between different healthcare modalities, at a higher level, and that can filter through to the practitioners on the ground, and that we do get some more joined up healthcare options for people, which I think is somewhat lacking at the moment. I mean, there's a case in point that literally I've been working with today. A client came to see me for a massage on Friday, and she'd been referred by a movement specialist. This is all in the private sector. She has had a diagnosis through the NHS, which she's had for over a year, which I feel needs to be readdressed. And so now she's lucky she's got the financial resource to be able to do this, but now she has myself, she has a physio, and she has a movement specialist all supporting her to hopefully set her on a healing journey, which she's not being able to find through an NHS pathway. If that, I don't know, it just feels like there's so much more to be done in joined up work to help support people, and that at the moment you have silos of care within the NHS and people aren't talking to it. And this is within the NHS. You might have someone who is been sent to urology and they have certain results that they have there, but the urology is not connecting up with maybe they've gone to see someone about the endocrine system or what have you. There isn't that joined up thinking at the moment. And I know the NHS is a wonderful system, but it's a big system and it is going to take time, and it does take time. But I think just that kind of joined up thinking and this truly, really, genuinely being person-centered care, which are the buzz and has been the buzzword for a long time within healthcare, but it's not really, because the resources aren't there. The financial resources aren't there. We're up against an NHS system that has been financially undermined for years, and it's not the people who are in the system's fault, it's the system itself, and something does need to shift whilst maintaining a free to access healthcare system.
It's so hard. And I think also what you were saying before about, you know, treading on toes, almost treading on eggshells, actually, as far as you know, traditional medicine is concerned, and how we work with a healthcare system where there's this sort of them and us situation. How do you have ideas about how that could be, how the two, I also don't like saying alternative health, but unfortunately at the moment that's how we're differentiating between going to the GP or going to an alternative health clinic. I mean,
I think in the society that we live in, and rightly so, in many aspects, it is about evidence-based treatment. But what I would say is that you can't get your randomized controlled trials and what have you in fields where there isn't money. So you're not going to get kind of randomized controlled trials on medical herbalism unless that's being financed by a company, and unless that company can at the end of it patent something to put onto market. So you're not, obviously you got the odd things here and there that universities are able to put on, but they are few and far between in terms of kind of finding an evidence base for alternative healthcare. I mean, the evidence is essentially the wellness of the patient in front of you. However, kind of quantitative research has got a bit of a not a bad but it's held below qualitative data in a way, which is unfortunate. I mean, but that is the way that our system is set up. I mean, I'm sure and I hope that will change over the years, but again, it's going to be a very slow process. And it is about communicating, and it is about educating within the healthcare profession. But I think if that evidence base isn't there in terms of qualitative data, then it's going to be a tricky nut to crack.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you for adding that. That's yeah, I think it's important that we have these conversations, because otherwise we are always doing the same. Going back to what you were saying about you know, having births at home even. I mean, I wonder how many people are not actually aware that you are able to do that under the NHS.
Allowed, yeah.
Allowed.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Wrong terminology.
But it's not the wrong terminology. But people say I'm not allowed. What do you mean you're not allowed?
Yeah,
it's your.
It's true. People do not know.
The NHS is a service which is there to support and provide for us. We are the consumer, and yet we are told we are not allowed to do certain things. And I don't think people don't realize, yeah, they can say, oh, I'm having a home birth. And the NHS have a legal responsibility to support you in that. And it's only actually really since the mid to late 50s that we have started having hospital births. Our parents' generation, or certainly the generation before that, it was all home-based maternity care. And so I think we were suffering from this kind of, we all, as humans, we all do this, as in, if it's modern, it's better. If it's modern, it's modern. Let's actually dissect that. Is it better? It obviously is in some aspects, but not in all. And I think we need to be, as going back to what I was saying before, I think we need to stop being so complicit in systems that aren't working and actually step back and go, okay, so how can we make this work for us?
Exactly, instead of having everything in one place so that you can control it and so that you can measure data. I mean, that's really what it's about. It comes down to data. But yeah, that is our system. I have one final question for you. So if you could choose absolutely any superpower right now, which one would you like to have at your fingertips?
Wow, what a question. If I could have any superpower right now, to be able to see into the future. to know if the steps that I'm taking are going to lead to a certain place. I would love that kind of that foresight. I think would be amazing, because I mean we all are obviously hesitant about making decisions in every aspect of our lives. We don't know where it's going to lead, but I think to have future knowledge would be a wonderful thing. I'd love to be able to time travel. That's it. That's my
Fantastic. I love the way the sun was just sort of glowing on your face as you were saying that. It's just perfect timing. Brilliant. Anna, thank you so much for joining me here on Coffee Time Chats today. It was really great hearing from you, and I wish you all the best with your plans in the near future.
Thanks very much, Claire.
Thank you very much.